Hello everyone, and I'll be introducing you again to servers on Frappe Cloud, and this time it is the final edition of what is about to go live. So the agenda is very simple. I'll quickly take you through the demo of how servers are used on Frappe Cloud, how the UI works, and after that, I'll explain some of the features, and we can then move on to questions. All right then. So basically, servers on Frappe Cloud is our way of saying that on Frappe Cloud, you no longer will be paying for sites or benches, and there will be no more paywalls. All you will be paying for is servers, that is virtual machines, and you can now choose your own multi-tenancy models, but you have to pay for the servers. And that is basically, that is the slight change in pricing tactic. And the pricing pages lie on pricing/servers. We aren't showing this to everyone as of now, but ending this webinar, we'll slowly start with partners and then other high-paying customers, and then eventually to everyone else. And the idea is very simple. You basically pick a virtual machine that fits your size, and then you essentially put as many benches and as many sites on the virtual machine, and then those sites and benches are not capped by resources they use, but the virtual machines are essentially size-bound. And all of these virtual machines right now are run inside our AWS account. And we are essentially transparently telling you what AWS instance essentially powers your virtual machine. So we'll quickly go through a demo. So you should not be able to see this screen on your, so this tab on your screen right now. It's visible to only a few accounts as of now. But the idea is very simple. You essentially name your server something. Let's just say webinar. Pick a region. I'll go with India. And you pick a size for your virtual machine. Let's just go with the smallest C6 machine for this case. And you have to essentially pick two servers, one for application server and one for database server. And you can have a smaller database server and bigger application server based on however you need it. And eventually you'll be told what is the final size of your machine and final billing. And it roughly takes a minute to spawn these machines. And once the machines are ready, you can create benches on these machines, and then you can create sites on those benches. So the other thing is, as soon as the machine is up, we'll start collecting some analytics about the machine. Right now, we don't have any data, but within a few minutes, we'll be able to see the base metrics of this machine. For instance, how much CPU, memory, and disk you're using. By the way, you can also change the plan of your machine whenever you want. This essentially causes a slight downtime, roughly 4 to 5 minutes, but then everything else is automatically handled. For instance, when we change the size of the database machine, we essentially go and change all the MariaDB configs that are dependent on the size, the memory of the machine. So let's just create a bench and then so the deploy. While the deploy completes, I'll quickly take you through the previously created machine. And you can now create site on this bench, let's just say. And we will no longer be asking you to pick a plan on this site because this site is virtually unlimited. It's only capped by the size of your virtual machine at that instant. That is basically the idea behind virtual machines. We'll soon be allowing you to buy additional storage. For instance, all machines are come with some pre-bundle, like pre-packaged storage, and you can buy additional storage from us. Right now, the feature doesn't exist. It will be soon available. And that is it. At the moment we start collecting analytics, we will show you the graphs. Right now, this machine doesn't have any. But a previously created machine should have plenty of. These are again very simple graphs telling you about base metrics of the machine. And that is it. Once you create a site, so our site is created. It's broken. Let's pick a site there that we had created before. You can no longer change the plan on this site. This site is not capped by any means, and that's it. This is the demo for servers. Very straightforward, very simple. We'll soon be enabling servers on all the people who are attended right now and all the customers we already have on Frappe Cloud. New customers will take, by the end of this week, we'll start servers for new customers as well. So that is the end of my demo. And I'll just quickly repeat some of the points that I mentioned. Again, you pay for sites, sorry, pay for servers, not sites or benches. And you have to pick 2 servers. And then all the paywall features before are now removed. You get all the private bench features and all DB access and SSH access features from the get-go. And we recommend you go with C6, M6, and R6 machines for production instances. And we recommend you go with T3 machines for smaller sites or your development and staging instances. That is basically the end of the demo. And if you have any questions, we can start with them.
Feel free to unmute and ask your questions.
Hi, Aditya. I got a question.
Yeah, hi.
So I just want to ask that if we already have benches and sites running, right? So
Yes.
do we need to migrate them to some sort of servers, or those are also perfectly fine?
The existing plans will remain as it is. You don't have to change your plans, and you don't have to migrate your existing sites to new servers.
So this is just an additional offering on top of those offerings.
Yeah, this is just that. And then for whatever reason, if you want to migrate your existing sites, we'll make that feature available as well. And if you want to migrate right away, raise a separate ticket and we'll move your sites to your new servers.
No problem.
But this is an additional offering. We are not changing the existing plans, at least as of now.
All right, that's good to know.
Hello. Yeah.
Hi.
Actually, yeah, my question is, can we give access to a particular customer of that particular site? Because they want to see, like, what is their consumption, or how much database they have occupied, or how much this size they have occupied. So can we give access of different sites to different customers?
So right now, that is not possible. Your customer will have to create their own account, and then you'll have to migrate your site to that customer's account. But we're working on this feature where a user only has access to a certain sites or certain benches and not the whole account. But at least as of now, that's not possible.
Okay, thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, so these servers are based on ARM or?
Okay, so all of the instances available right now are Intel machines.
Okay.
The most recent generation Intel machines. We are running some tests with ARM, but some of our architecture is not ARM compatible, at least as of now. But you can expect Graviton machines or ARM machines very soon. All of the machines currently listed are Intel machines, though.
Okay.
Hello, Aditya.
Yeah, hi.
When this service start, and what's the
expected cost?
So the pricing page is live, and we'll be making this feature available from today itself.
Okay, thanks.
So we have a few questions in the chat also. I'll go through all of them quickly. Aditya, maybe you can answer them, and if they have already been answered, let me know, okay?
Yeah.
One is how to activate it on our partner account.
Okay, at the end of this webinar, we'll be enabling this feature on all of the partner accounts and all of the existing customers as well.
Okay. Any recommendations or a parameter on choosing database server?
It's kind of hard. The best answer we have is, pick a size and then resize whenever required. If you search for this online, the answer you'll get is make sure your buffer pool size, which is roughly the size of your RAM, should be equal to your active data set, should be able to match your active data set. It's a very, very weird way of putting but that is how the recommendation you get online. I mean, whatever has worked for us is basically pick a small size that you're comfortable with and then upgrade, downgrade as necessary. We'll soon allow users to edit like a specific MariaDB variable so that you'll have control over buffer pool size or other small buffer sizes as well. But just like we did before, pick a size and upgrade, downgrade as necessary.
I hope that answers your question, Jignesh. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Next is, can we give access of one site to specific user?
Yeah, this question was answered. Right now, it's not possible, but we'll soon make this feature available as well.
Okay. Amir Babu asked, do the invoice created for each site in private bench?
So as of now, the customer gets the invoice, not a particular site or bench. If you want an invoice for a particular site or particular bench, then you should create a new account for that site. If you want just usage details, then we can provide them in a specific print format, but we can't send invoices for each site. We have to send them for each customer. So if you want separate billing, go with separate accounts. If you want just more user-friendly print format for usage and sites, we can make that available.
Does that answer your question, Amir Babu?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Aditya.
Okay, we'll move on to the next one. When choosing regions for the server, are all the AWS regions supported or only a subset?
So currently we are supporting 6 AWS regions, but if you want more than those, just send us a support request and then we'll make that region available as well. Before this, the choice of region was essentially dependent on the demand, and we roughly needed something like 100 or so sites in that region to start offering that region on Frappe Cloud. But since you are now paying for servers, we can start in any region. So if you don't see the region that you like, please raise a support ticket and we can get you started on the same day.
Okay. Hope that answers your question, Dirk. Cool. Mitesh has a few questions. Replication support. That's it. That's the question.
Okay. So we do have inbuilt MariaDB replication and app server replication. Right now, those are not exposed in the database. But in this case, I think your use case demands it. We can set up replication for you. All you have to do essentially is pay for the additional database server or additional app server as well. The database server could be used as a read-only replica. So your cost isn't actually just doubling. You're actually getting more usage out of it. The app server, however, is only standby. And none of this is available in the UI right now. So if you have a case like this, please raise a ticket and we'll get you sorted. So there's this question about the type of support provided by Frappe Cloud team. Just like we've been supporting your sites and benches before, we'll be supporting your servers and your sites and benches as it is. Like there is no change in our internal organization, or just because you're running servers, we're not paying extra or less attention to you. If you have a specific question about this, then maybe you can ask that. And
okay, thanks.
The third question is about server analytics. So right now we're using Prometheus and Node Exporter to collect a whole lot of metrics about the server, but in the dashboard, because of the constraints of charts and to make the dashboard simplified, we are actually showing only 6 metrics. That is basically what is the amount of disk you have used, that is storage. What is the IOPS on this disk? How much read and write you're doing? What is your CPU usage? And what is your load average? How much network transactions, transfers you're doing, and how much memory are you using? But if you want more metrics than these, we are actually collecting them, but we are not showing them in the UI because of UI constraints.
So on this question, Aditya, thanks. How do we find out the monitor.json monitor.json accesses to which APIs are called the most? Is there anything that is available for that?
Okay, so essentially we take monitor.json and we dump it into another log store service that we have. Right now, there aren't very clean APIs to ask, for instance, which requests are taking the longest, and or which requests are not at all getting hit, or let's just say a particular client is causing too many requests. But if you have like a specific proposal for this, then maybe share that and we can work on that feature. But as a general, the monitor.json output is not accessible from the API, at least as of now, or you can't query it. We are using it for internal debugging or performance issues or something like this.
So we can still rely on the input from your end for that, right?
Yeah. If you see a common use case, then we can probably build a user interface for to let everyone query this.
Okay. Thanks. Next one is the dev machines I saw for development. I understand that the server will have a repo which is kind of mirrored across the Docker. So you don't. How do we use dev machines? Are we able to point the GitHub repository directly from the Docker instance that is created?
I'm not really sure again. What do you mean by? Can you elaborate maybe?
So I saw that you were saying that for production machine, you have a separate recommendation. For development machine, you have a separate recommendation there. So if I was to set up development machines, I would like to check in code, maybe commit, and will this all be possible?
So no, right now that is not possible. What I meant by that was essentially the T3 machines are something called burstable machine types, and we are not able to guarantee that when you get 2 CPU for a T3 large machine, you are actually getting 100% of T3 CPU. So by that analogy, don't rely on the size, and the memory is guaranteed, but the CPU is not guaranteed. That was all. I'm sorry if I gave any hint of VS Code or anything like that on the Frappe Cloud servers. The machines are the same. The setup is same. It's just the underlying instances are T3 and C6. And yes, if you want bigger machines than 16 CPU, we can make those possible as well. Right now, we are using a very straightforward some 60-70% additional on 60-70% pricing on top of AWS pricing, and that might make the bigger machines very, very expensive. But we can always talk about this.
So means it can go to 32, and we can also have.
Yeah. So as long as AWS is able to provide us a bigger machine, we can support you as well.
One question I missed out writing was regarding the application server balancing load. You mentioned that you can have it on a load balancing mode?
So the app server, at least at this point, cannot be used as a, I mean, it is only active passive. The secondary app server is for failover only. If you're, I mean, there's already some traction for this question on Discuss. If you're not using files and attachments, if you're not storing them locally, we can make this work for you as well. If you're using S3 or you're not at all using attachments, then we can make a load balanced app servers available to you. But at least at this point, that is not available. This feature is not available.
Understood. Thank you very much.
Okay.
So for these, actually, I had a question.
Go on.
Would all the migration and restart be accessible through the UI itself, or we would have to directly connect it through the SSH and manually do it?
So the Frappe Cloud features that were already there for private benches and public benches are there anyway. Even on private benches, you had SSH access to your benches. There is nothing else that you get for servers. All you get is just dedicated guarantee. I mean, guarantee that you're getting a particular amount of RAM and CPU for your benches. So there is no change. There should not be any change for any workflow, any migration or update workflow. Whatever you should be able to do from the UI, you can do from UI. The rest for escape hatches, you can use SSH access.
And as well as I had one more question. At the moment, we have the SSH access, but while connecting it through VS Code, through the remote SSH, it shows me in the logs that it is administratively denied, administratively prohibited. So is there any workaround for that or any other method?
Okay. We did not anticipate this case. Maybe we'll try connecting through VS Code as such, and then if there is an issue, we'll fix it.
Okay.
But again, this is not intentional. This is probably just a oversight from
yeah, might be security or something for keeping that in mind.
Yes, I can do it.
Falcon, let's move on to other questions then. Should I just repeat and read an answer?
I had one more question in my mind. There are some making some overrides in the custom app as well. For that, while installing it on Frappe Cloud, the site usually it requires the developer mode to be true as we are applying the monkey patches. They're similar to like, let's suppose there are some reports of ERP Next which are by default. In that case, while overriding those functions, it causes a problem in Frappe Cloud. So is there any other way that we could override it?
So whatever happens in production elsewhere you should be able to replicate it on Frappe Cloud, and whatever happens on Frappe Cloud, you should be able to replicate it elsewhere in production as well. We aren't doing anything specially. For monkey patches, we usually notice that people use like import something in hooks.py, and that does not work very well. Maybe raise a bug request for this and we can fix it in the framework itself.
Okay.
But this is not a Frappe Cloud. This is probably some production issue that does not work well with.
Yeah, it is a production issue, might be, because while doing it locally, while making some changes in the Frappe app itself, we are able to bypass that issue.
All right, maybe there's a bug request some framework and then tag me, and then we can maybe take care of this. Yeah.
Cool. The next question was if this is running on AWS or our own data centers.
Yeah, we are running on AWS, and we are very transparently doing this. We are not even trying to hide which regions and which machines and even what family of the machines we are running. So next to each virtual machine, we are very straightforward mentioning what instance you are getting.
Cool.
And at this point, this is our AWS account. We can't run on customer's AWS account.
Okay. Cool. What is the backup strategy for the service?
Okay. Again, no changes, at least as of now. for backups or any other feature, we are taking site backups for all the sites every 6 hours, and we are moving every fourth of them to a offsite location in S3. But if snapshot features, so that is coming very soon. If you want to schedule snapshots periodically, then we'll be able to do those as well. So you can essentially take live snapshots of your disk, but then the other issue is, you won't be able to restore them on existing sites. You should be able to spawn a new machine. We are working on this feature, but there aren't any changes for backups. Whatever was working before is working as it is.
Tahir, I hope that answers your question. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Gupteshwar has asked if the primary storage can be picked as per need.
Yeah. So we are bundling a very small amount of storage with the servers, but then we'll soon allow you to provision additional storage. So let's just say the server comes with 25 GB storage and you want 250 GB extra. You can provision that. We haven't made the pricing for that live yet, but it should be very close to the raw pricing that AWS gives us. But yeah, you can now provision additional storage as much as you want.
But additional storage will be additional storage, right? I mean,
yeah.
So that we cannot count as I have a very simple use case that DB size is 60 MB just, but my file storage is 48 GB. So, I mean, if I put additional storage, then it can't count it as I can move something there, but I cannot use it under application. Is that right?
So so right now you have to use 2 servers, and unfortunately can't share storage between app and database server. We are also working on single server installations, but we can't make any guarantees about that. So in that case, essentially your app and database server is on the same machine, and then whatever additional storage you provision gets shared between DB and app server.
Okay.
Yeah. The second question is DB. So we are using AWS EC2 instances. We are not using AWS RDS or any other managed service. We are just using EC2, and we are installing MariaDB on our own, and we are managing MariaDB on our own.
Okay. Thank you.
So essentially all the server setups that are visible to you was how it was being done on Frappe Cloud anyway. So there aren't any architectural changes. All we are doing is just making those APIs available to you so that you can spawn your own servers.
Okay, thank you.
So Ark is asking, can we install multiple sites in one server? And if yes, what's the recommended number? So yes, you can. If you have a decent sized machine, for instance, we use a 8 CPU 16 GB RAM machine, and roughly the same size machine for all our trial instances, and we roughly get 100 trial sites every single day. But that is again, very dependent on the use case. All of those sites are trial sites. We aren't able to run anywhere close to 100 sites, 100 production sites on a bigger machine. So again, run your own tests, but for a number as high as 100, there shouldn't be any issues.
Sorry, I didn't hear clearly. Can you please repeat that?
Yeah. So in some cases, we are even running 100 sites on a single server, but all of those 100 sites are essentially demo instances or trial instances that people create from yarpnex.com sign-up flow. For real production instances, you should run your own tests.
Thanks.
Yeah, but then again, a number somewhere close to 100 should not be very difficult to achieve, unless all of those sites are production sites. So question from Beyond Wave. Is the server scalable? Meaning, can we change the size of the server even in production? So we do have resize option. Just like before you could change the plan of the site, we can now change plan of the server. And there is a slight downtime. We are not able to do it, do the resize live. But within 4 minutes of downtime, you should be able to resize your machine up or down as you want. So in that case, it is scalable, but you are going to face a 4-minute downtime. That is basically we just shutting down the machine, upgrading the size and starting it back up.
Cool. The next question is by Nitin. Will we have access to database and files?
So you should be able to access database and through the DB access feature, or you can use SSH access feature and get a shell inside your bench, and then either use bench MariaDB for database, and then you can read write files as you want. But all of these features were already available on private benches. There isn't again any change for benches and sites.
Access to the database server as well?
Yeah. So the DB access feature was already available. There just was a small cap on like a $50 paywall on who was able to access this feature. But the other thing you can always do is you can SSH into your bench and then do bench MariaDB for a small command. For if you want to attach, let's just say an analytics server, something like Power BI, then you should be able to use the DB access feature as well.
I'm quite because SSH access to database server was very useful to access the MySQL slow. How is that accessible?
So that is not at least available right now. But we can make something like this available where some of the log files are available inside the UI. We can't, at least at this point, give root access to. I mean, again, it's not a security issue. From our point of view, you're actually owning the machine. But then, if you open up root access to the database, then virtually anyone can connect to the database. But I mean, for this use case, for instance, accessing slow query logs, we can make some feature in the UI. And for rest of and we can provide a temporary privileged access user on databases as well. At least at this point, it is not available though.
Okay, moving on. Jignesh asks, what do you mean by offsite site backup available as in private servers?
Hey, Jignesh, can you elaborate?
Yeah, I think you answered, right? The offsite backups which are available right on the sites will continue to remain available even if you go for a server. Right? So,
yeah. So for private servers, on top, what will the server snapshots, which is essentially equivalent of ABS volume snapshots, will make those available as well. But yeah, the current backup and restore feature will work as it is.
Thanks.
I think you answered the next questions if we can make snapshot. So moving on, any changes for update for only fetching a specific app rather than cloning all the apps?
So when you update your bench, we actually tell you which apps have most recent updates, and then you can pick which of those apps you actually want to update. So this feature is already in the UI. Maybe you mean something else other than this. Sometimes there's a slight issue.
Yeah, actually, the thing that happens as of now is that while selecting the specific app in the new bench version, it already clones the app from the GitHub URL itself. So rather than just cloning those GitHub sites, rather than they can do a thing is that they can duplicate the bench and just pull that specific app or something.
Yeah. So we're working on some workarounds for slow builds and slow deploys. But at least at this point, whatever flow we have, that actually works without any issues. But yeah, we'll take this under.
Aditya, I think the issue here is by default, all of the apps are ticked. Because all the apps are ticked, it looks like as if you cannot untick them. So it's a matter of just changing the default to tick or not tick.
All right. That is also possible. Yeah, we'll try changing the default behavior.
The last question is by Mitesh only, if there is any duplicate query and query time analytics available.
So recently we started collecting this into our internal log server. We'll make this report available in the UI. For the database server, we'll add additional tab, and then we'll show you all the SQL queries, or at least all the SQL queries above a certain time threshold.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think we missed a question from Rajvi. Sorry. Is there a specific reason for not allowing developer mode for Frappe Cloud sites? So again, it's not specific to Frappe Cloud. We don't recommend you run developer mode on production sites because in certain cases, for instance, when you modify standard doc types, you can go and look inside the code. The default behavior is that we actually go and modify the code for those apps, because that is how developer mode is supposed to work. You modify standard doc types and then the changes reflect in your code. But that is not necessarily what people want in production. So the best, I mean, again, this is maybe we can discuss a specific case on a different thread. If you have a specific request for this, maybe raise a GitHub request, and then our developers can give you either a workaround or we can build a specific feature to make this available. But you should not be using developer mode on production sites because it changes the underlying code.
Thank you so much, Aditya, for answering all the questions. And thank you to the audience for joining us for the webinar. We will see you again next month for the next webinar. Thank you.